you don't want to end up in a tree because you cannot really brake. A few years back, I saw a film in cinema that made me start motorcycling. And that was the film Venom with Tom Hardy. And in that film, there's a motorcycle chase with a very beautiful motorcycle with a beautiful front headlight. And that was the Ducati Scrambler. And that's the bike that I'm sitting on right now. And with that, welcome back to the Free Mouse MC. The Ducati Scrambler is Ducati's offer for the Scrambler market. And with many Scramblers existing out there that have varying degree when it comes to road performance and off-road performance, with Ducati being a quite performance-focused brand on road and MotoGP and everything, I want to see if this bike can perform on the road and also on a gravel road. Is this motorcycle a true Scrambler? This is the Ducati Scrambler Icon. It's kind of the starting point for the Scrambler line. There are many different variants that offer many different riding experiences, from supermoto to something more enduro focused and something more road focused. Ducati as a brand is very well known for their heritage and their typical Italian flavor for motorcycles. First of all, this motorcycle is equipped with an 800cc L-twin engine that is part of the frame. This engine is air-cooled and has 73 horsepower and 65 Newton meters of torque. On top of that, the motorcycle is equipped with quality build parts like Kaiba forks and Brembo brakes. The suspension is in the front an upside-down suspension and in the rear a preload adjustable. All in all, this motorcycle is inspired by the old Ducati Scrambler from the 60s, which is very visible in its very large seat and in the tank design, and also in how this motorcycle is styled with its color. Many of the different colorways that this motorcycle is available in were the old colorways that the old Ducati Scrambler in the 60s was available. All in all, because this is kind of the entry-level bike, the bike has a lot of plastic, like here at the rear and also here at the front. And this is a Scrambler, so it's supposed to be on-road and also off-road. And what I really like here is that there's a lot of distance here between the tire and the fender. At the same time, it's not a proper enduro fender, but I used to ride a bike, a naked bike, all the way off-road through Iceland. And one of the things that I notice is that often rocks get trapped in the front fender. So I like that they designed it like this. The tank is out of metal, and I really like how they have those two different parts, one with the paint and one with the brushed metal, and with this really long seat. I personally am 6'5", and this motorcycle is very tiny. It's built for definitely a man smaller than myself. As you can see, I have my knee at a huge angle and my feet are almost like pointed backward. With this being still the 22 model, it has a cable throttle, while the new 2023 model already has a ride-by-wire. So let's see how this bike does on the road. So we just left this little Spanish village here on Mallorca, and the Ducati Scrambler already showed there what it has as an urban motorcycle. The handling there is very well, I have to say. Also around tight corners, I am pleasantly surprised. And now here on the twisty road, this motorcycle feels absolutely amazing. The thing is, I just said that the motorcycle handles amazing, right? That very often sounds like an empty word. I often, when I see motorcycles that are in the price range of something like the Ducati Scrambler, something around 10 grand, I'm always wondering, where do the 10 grand go? And I can tell you, the 10 grand are right here. Because the suspension and how the chassis feels is absolutely superb. Like, this is, you have to keep in mind, this is a Scrambler. This is also supposed to go off-road. And this is now here on the road, on a really like technical area of road with very bad asphalt, little stones in the middle, on a cold day in winter. I usually prefer more long swept turns, and here this is, I mean, the asphalt does not feel great. It's very bumpy and the bike just eats it up. The 73 horsepower also feel quite good. It's quite high revving for an air-cooled engine. I cannot describe anything that would make the handling better. I can literally not give any negative when it comes to the pure riding. I have to say the body position is agony, but I'm way too tall at 6'5" for this motorcycle, and also that this bike is equipped with lean sensitive ABS. I didn't feel it coming on yet. I am careful. You could push this bike here so much harder. It literally feels like you could completely put the bike on the side. I never was so encouraged to move my butt on a motorcycle, because it's always really easy to just keep in the place where you want it to be and just let the bike do the work. But here you can, like, in the tight turns, you actually like want to move your butt around to get the bike around the curves. You need to make a difference. If a motorcycle is objectively well handling, something like the Honda Hornet CB750, which is from, like, if you look at it objectively, very well handling, but this is like from the point how it feels. It just feels good. Like, also for your average Joe, because I'm pretty much motorcycle riding quite the average guy, skill wise, and fuck, this is good. This is proper good. Now we have a car in front of us. Let's use the chance of having a car in front of us to talk a little bit more about the suspension, because the suspension is not just really amazing on the road, but if I now here get up, you feel as soon as you get up, it's like a different bike. This is so soft. This is literally like a BMX bike. This is so good. Like, I'm very curious how this will handle off-road. Like, turns like this is the thing I like least about motorcycle riding. And it just does it. You could wish for a little bit more power, you know, but let's be honest, the handling just absolutely 100% makes up for it. When it comes to the dash, this is now the 22 model year. The new model from 2023 will have a DFT dash. But all in all, I'm not that happy with the dash in the sense of how you use it with the buttons. Like, earlier went through the menus and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. Who cares about the menu? You want to ride the bike. The buttons, they are okay. They're not bad and they're not good either. They're in the middle. And with its 185 kilos, this bike feels insanely light. Like, the weight is so down low. You don't feel that this bike has any weight at all. Also here on the more open curves. Fuck, this is good. I am usually not a big fan of motorcycles that are like where you pay basically for the name on the label and where you pay for like this special brand, but damn is this good. Like, yeah. So I'm now here with the Ducati Scrambler on some proper gravel stuff, and standing up this bike feels very good. Like, it handles, it's almost like a different bike. It handles all the little bumps quite well. This Scrambler also hugely benefits from the very low seat height of this bike, because if you don't feel the confidence to stand up and want to kind of slowly wiggle through something, you can definitely do that. And with many actually off-road capable bikes, that can be a daunting task, because you just cannot reach the ground. At least other people. I don't have a problem with that. I can flat foot literally everything. But still, when you then stand halfway on an incline, I think that the seat height is so low actually is in its off-road capability a huge plus. Except of course that you have absolutely zero confidence anything downhill related because of the non-off switchable ABS. But on the model pre-2019 that is still off switchable, which I think is a great addition. Now here back on the road, I am wildly surprised how good the suspension is, because it literally feels so different off-road as soon as you stand up. Because as soon as you stand up, the suspension dives in so deeply. And here, now I'm braking with the front forks, it doesn't dive in that much when you're sitting down. And with this very low seat height, it so much feels like a bike that you can like muscle around like a BMX bike. The only two things that I can complain about with its off-road capability is of course that the ABS is not off-switchable. I think that must be because of some rule, because on older bikes it was possible to switch it off and now you can't. And I at least hope that on some of the higher spec models like the Desert Sled you can still do that, because riding off-road without off-switchable ABS is just a bit scary. Stick around, because later in the video there will be a deep dive into the whole ABS topic, and if you're curious about this motorcycle you should definitely watch that. And the other thing is the bike feels amazing and is amazing to handle as long as it's moving. Also when it's standing still, it's still easy to handle in the sense of that you can pull it up and wiggle it out of tight spots, in the sense of that you can maneuver it very lightly. But if you need to turn the bike, you will just move front and back, because the turn radius of when the bike is standing is terrible. So I'm now here kind of on a road where the Ducati Scrambler feels the most comfortable. A mixture of gravel and asphalt, and so far it feels very, very good. I really feel like this is a motorcycle that was made for those mountain areas that we have in some areas of Europe, here like on Mallorca, where you have very tiny, well-maintained roads and stuff like this, which is kind of in the middle. The Ducati Scrambler definitely performs here well, and I have to say I would not be as confident on roads like this on any other motorcycle probably. With this one, you know, you can lean the bike over on like very bad asphalt and gravel here, and you just feel how the bike is slipping all over the place, but it still just works, you know. Oh, fuck. Yeah, works in the sense of you can also pretty quickly eat shit. Now we're stuck behind a car. I have to say the only thing that's kind of holding me back is the missing ABS, and I think you could just I know that's illegal, so you shouldn't do that, but theoretically it must be possible to take out the thing that you and you see this is where the car ends. This is where the Mercedes couldn't continue, but we with the Ducati Scrambler definitely can. But yeah, if you would somehow find a way to disable the ABS, you would have an absolutely amazing bike, because I just love this. But this is very much what this bike is made for. Ooh, what a view. Like, this bike is very confidence inspiring, no matter the road condition. And now we made it up here to this little restaurant. After spending the whole day on the Ducati Scrambler, I now had some amazing food in this restaurant and I had a really good time. I have to say I'm really amazed by this motorcycle. All in all, I think it's a great bike. There's one major complaint that we will get to later, but first of all, this is a really, really amazing machine, to the degree that it really makes me want to try other Ducatis, and that I'm really curious about them as a brand now. As a first Ducati that I ever rode, I think this is just a great bike. I at the beginning asked myself the question if this is a true Scrambler, and I have to say it really performs well on the road. It is one of the best feelings I ever had on a motorcycle riding on the road. Through the curves, it really feels amazing, and it's very confidence inspiring, and it feels like I have endless amount of lean angle, and I would even say that I would be comfortable learning way more how to ride a motorcycle on the road with a bike like this. Most of the weight of this motorcycle is very down low. That leads to this very good handling, and also there's just not a lot of weight of it in the first place with its 185 kilos. And also the big wheel up front with its 18 inches is really good. It definitely is more fitted to the Scrambler side of it going off-road, but on the road it performs absolutely well. When saying that the bike performs so well on road, I of course mean in normal use. I am not trying to break records here on the road, but having a good, steady, fast pace and feeling very good doing it. The bike bike also performs very well off-road. The suspension that feels absolutely stiff enough on the road feels then very soft off-road due to the different posture that I have on the bike. Also, it has 150 millimeters of suspension travel, this model, the Icon, and for riding off-road that was definitely enough. I personally rode a naked bike with 140 millimeters of suspension travel all the way through Iceland and through the Sahara Desert, so you can definitely do stuff like that, and I think with a bike like this, that is even more possible. Also, the Scrambler side of this motorcycle has other features that make it so good off-road. For example, this bike has metal foot pegs and also on the other side metal brakes, like on a proper enduro, which I think is really nice. And also here in the front, the suspension is protected by this plastic guard, so if you are behind a car or behind another motorcycle, rocks that get kicked up cannot damage your suspension. I think those things are really great features for making the bike usable off-road as a scrambler. Also, the 180 millimeter wheel at the back feels really fun because you have to work so much to turn the motorcycle. It's a really amazing cornering feeling. Also, the tires that are on that bike from Pirelli, the Pirelli Scrambler tires, feel very good, and also if you are going through gravel you can actually still lean the bike quite far, which just leads to a very satisfying riding experience. All in all, I've been very amazed by this motorcycle and gave Ducati a lot of praise and actually got curious about them as a brand through this motorcycle. But there's still the question from the beginning, is this motorcycle a true scrambler? And this is where it gets complicated. The old version of this bike until 2019 had off-switchable ABS. Then it slowly became more complicated switching off the ABS, and right now the ABS is not off-switchable. I tried very hard in the menu and I googled through the internet for tutorials, and it's quite obvious that the ABS is just not off-switchable. Speaking of the menus are quite hard to navigate. Coming back to the ABS. ABS is not off-switchable on this motorcycle, also not on the rear wheel. That of course highly influences how you can ride this bike off-road. That is just a bummer. Also because this has been part of this motorcycle before. And then I googled very hard if this has some legislative issue on the European Union scale or something. That was my first assumption, which I also said during my ride impression. But I looked hard and couldn't find anything. And then I looked if other models still have off-switchable ABS, and the Ducati Desert Sled, which is for me an absolute dream bike and that I would love to own and is in my opinion the most desirable scrambler option, still has that. And I really hope that there's some legislative reason why this motorcycle does not have off-switchable ABS. Because if they took out the off-switchable ABS out of this motorcycle to make it more easy to upsell you to the Desert Sled, I would feel upset. If it didn't have any off-switchable ABS from the start, I would just say that it's a less desirable bike, but I would have been fine with it. This bike as a package needs an off-switchable ABS because that's how you're supposed to ride this bike. Because if you ride this bike on a gravel road, you want to brake into turns and then go around the turn with having the real wheel go out a little bit and those things, and also going off-road down a slight mountain. You don't want to end up in a tree because you cannot really brake. Because this feature has been present here, I feel a little bit betrayed there, because if it's just put out of the bike to upsell you to a different model, that is in my opinion a bit upsetting. If you want this bike and want all those amazing things that it has to offer, which in my opinion are also worth the price, and worth the price of going to your mechanic every year to get your desmodromic valve serviced for $1,000, then you could get the model from before 2019 that still had off-switchable ABS. But sadly that's not available anymore on the newer models. All in all, this situation with the rear wheel off-switchable ABS missing leaves a sour taste in my mouth of trying to get upsell to a different spec of model, and I don't really like that much. So I have to say it's almost a true scrambler with enormous potential, but it's not there. Especially with this off-switchable ABS not being part of this bike anymore, it brings you into a very weird spot, because this is a motorcycle that has cornering ABS and very good systems there, and cornering ABS is a really good system that keeps you safe on the road. It reduces motorcycle accidents by 30%, and that brings people that actually want to ride this bike how it's meant to be ridden into the situation of modifying their bike in some way that they don't have any ABS at all. That costs around 120 bucks. I found a system online that you can plug in so you don't get an error code. But that leads to that the people that actually want to ride the bike how it's meant to be ridden are riding the bike without the safety aids that can potentially save them from an accident on the road. That is just, I don't know, that doesn't make me all that happy. All in all, Ducati Scrambler, amazing motorcycle, really fun to ride on-road, off-road, with a little bit of a sour taste that doesn't give it the Scrambler stamp for me. Even though it's very close. After filming this review, this negative feeling on sour taste stayed with me for quite a few days, because I was really amazed with the Ducati Scrambler and didn't want to give it a bad review in that sense. But with this situation, trying to get upsell to a different model, I just can't give it a good review there. It's quite sad and also made me desire other models of the Scrambler lineup that have the off-switchable ABS less, because I don't know, this doesn't feel nice. I hope you liked this video, and if you like what I do here on YouTube, consider checking out the links in the description for my other socials and my Patreon, and see you soon.